All right, here we are. Here's Dream Quest of the Pale Knight. This is a little indie project I've been working on with a few others, and it's a very simple game. It's basically inspired from survival horror like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and stuff like that, but it's also inspired heavily from Dark Souls, and it's even inspired from H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite authors. He's inspired many things for me, and what's amazing about that I found with H.P. Lovecraft, sorry, I'm just getting set up here, is he made some real amazing stories. Some of my very favorite stories, and a lot of people don't really know him for his good stuff, in my opinion. And if you want to check out some really good short stories, check out the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, and just anything from the dream cycle that H.P. Lovecraft did. That was a huge influence on many different projects I've been working on my entire life, even prior to knowing who H.P. Lovecraft was at the time. But mostly people know H.P. Lovecraft for, being racist or Cthulhu and tentacle creatures and stuff like that. But with the Dream Quest stuff and the Dreamlands, it's a lot more intricate, and it's a little more of a horror fantasy, a little bit more on the fantasy side than the horror. But anyways, let's get this going. So this was the original sketch design for the main area for this game. It's not fully done. It's still very rough. The collision's rough. The performance is up and down. It's also going to be up and down since I'm live streaming this and the way I'm doing it. But I've used the Unreal Engine for at least more than 25 years, since Unreal Tournament. I've been designing levels for myself, and then I've been doing different projects with different people for a while now. Unfortunately, as many know, it's hard to get a lot of things finished, especially with a group. Especially, trying to get everybody to link up at the same time and make things work right. Some of this stuff sometimes takes, a lot more commitment than some may think. They may think that they have a video game idea and they're like, oh yeah, I could just make it. And then they get into it and they're like, oh crap. So in terms of gameplay and everything like that, there's nothing really made yet. So I'm primarily just working on the environment design. I'm trying to get a feel for a lot of things. I started working on the speed of the character. I'm not a fan of the animation or how far forward the knight is moving. That is going to change. But as for a start, within putting in less than a day worth of work, this works. Also, the model is most likely going to change. This is just a placeholder for the model. Still working a little bit on the camera. I been a little bit more inspired from like a Dark Souls where it's located. But ultimately with this is you're going to be able to switch the camera from first person to third person. So whatever you prefer to be playing as, you get to pick. And I think that's a really cool customization, and that's something that we want from Ulthar Studios in a lot of our games, is to give you the customization that you want. We are ultimately are building games that we want to see, and for ourselves and for anybody else that wants to enjoy. But there's those of us that have worked on this and other things that want to experience things differently. Some may prefer third, some may prefer first. I'm more of a first person fan, but some people, it's too much for them. They don't like the control. Maybe it takes them out of it. For me, it puts me into the inversion. So there's a lot of the lighting needs a lot of work, a lot of the adjustments too, because there's going to be a little bit of a realistic eye adjustment when you go from dark to light. Again, all of this needs to be worked on. But from here, it's going to be pretty much just like a walk in the park. And this is what this is actually themed after. This is themed after a park that I hike regularly in. And I actually use this park for many things outside of just this and hiking. It's almost like a entity or its own story in a sense, its own little kingdom. But basically, as the knight, you're going to be going through basically. All right, let me rewind here. So the story of this is you are a knight who is walking in the enchanted woods, and you don't know why you appeared there. You don't know really who you are, what order you belong to, what's going on. Just imagine yourself waking up, but you're walking, you're sleepwalking in the woods, but you're a knight. And you really don't know what's going on. Everything's going to have like a creepy feel to it, kind of like a scare. And actually, I don't even have it activated yet. Let me get that going. Silly me. Is the fog. The fog is still being worked on. All of this stuff, textures, the meshes, the stuff's all still being worked on. But here we go. That's what it looks like with the fog that we've been working with. So let's go back in and see what it looks like now. So you see it kind of brightened up a little bit now since the fog's been put in. I didn't change anything with the lighting. This is just the fog adding more of a brightness to it. So again, it's all a work in progress. Don't mind that blue light in the background. Yeah, you know, night sprint. There's going to be these cool statues littered around. They might even kind of spook you out later on. They're not programmed right now, but some of them, they're going to be moving as soon as you turn your back to them. So they could be playing tricks on you. But you're going to stroll through the woods, and you're going to be finding different landmarks all throughout there. And with those landmarks, they're going to lead to new spots, new areas, stories. The idea of how the story is going to be told is you're going to be finding different parchments of paper, memory fragments of possibly your character or other people that have gotten lost in these woods and they're no longer around. So that kind of adds the whole little exploration factor to this, because this is an explorative horror game in a sense, but there is going to be some action to it and some adventure. It's going to be very basic, but it's going to be snappy at that. So you're going to have a shield and you'll have a sword. And then on top of that, you'll be able to hold your lantern or not. So you're going to choose. Are you going to be holding a lantern and your sword, or are you going to be holding your shield and your lantern? That's going to be ultimately for you to decide. Kind of give you the edge. Do you want to be more defensive? Do you want to be more offensive? You could switch. The lantern will have only so much oil. So yeah, a lot of this isn't even finished. I just literally started working on this stuff. But I have the layout created for these woods. I have two versions. This was the original version I was working on, and then I kind of got away from the layout that it was based off of. So I went back and made another one. I'm right now mixed on which one to use, but here's the idea, and here's the first concept. And with that, there's going to be different landmarks. So you can see I placed a couple of the landmarks. There's going to be a chapel. There's going to be a creek. There's going to be a giant magical tree. Not from this world, but then again, you're not in our world. You are in a dream world. Oops, you're not supposed to really know that. But who knows? Maybe you're in a dream. Maybe you're in a nightmare. Maybe you're in hell. Maybe you're in purgatory. It all depends on the ending that you get to. So the endings have been heavily inspired from the Silent Hill 2 remake in terms of the ending being determined by you interacting with certain things and collecting specific items. So I kind of wanted to bring that over. So this is going to be a very short game. This isn't going to be very long. It's only expected to be 2 hours, 3 hours max, if that. But that, I want it to be replayable. And at the same time, as it's replayable, I want it to be worthwhile. So different stories, maybe different ways you could go out and about. So you're going to have a path, and there's going to be, say, a set way to go through, but you're going to be able to venture outside of that path. So this map right here actually came out a little bit bigger than I wanted to. It may not seem that big from where you're looking at from this, but when you actually are moving, it's a lot bigger than you may think. And that's something I do play factor in when I design areas. I design levels, and again, this isn't much to look at right at the moment, but when you move forward, or if you're running forward, I count my paces, I count my steps. How long is that hallway? Is this hallway taking too long for me to get down? Also, does this hallway even make sense for the structural integrity? And that's something the art director really gets on me all the time about, is why is that there? Does that make sense? Why is this here? And there's times, chaos plays into effective like that. But I think it's just really cool that we can create the things that we want at this point now. And I've been creating stuff like this for many, many years. Now I'm actually working with a nice team, that's looking to actually, work on stuff. And what's cool with this, though, is this is just a small idea. And we're trying to put boxes around ourselves, which, everybody's like, oh, you got to think outside the box. But what's funny about that is thinking outside the box sometimes will let you, sometimes staying within the box instead of thinking outside the box will let you flourish even bigger, because sometimes we go too far out of the box and then different things happen. And the things get too big. That is happening with our main project, Dream Quest of the Acolyte, is that became something smaller off of something even bigger, because it was actually called Dream Quest of the Yith, and you played as a Yith. And I'm not going to get into what a Yith is. It's Yith. Go check out H.P. Lovecraft and learn what the Yiths are. But here is the new version, and again, you're gonna be like, wow, this looks terrible, this doesn't look complete. Well, I'm gonna be sharing devlogs, the progress of all this stuff, and I'm very excited to share this. With this game here, though, it's going to be something I want to see, something short, something sweet, something fun to play. So here, I'm going to show you the layout. So you're going to start right here where that little cross is. Around that area, we'll say you'll probably start off actually like right here. And you're going to make your way through. There's going to be a swamp. Here's the creek. There's going to be the monastery that you'll end up going to. Again, a lot of this stuff, it's all placeholders. And then this is going to be the main path. All of this is going to be woods, dense woods in between. And a lot of it you will actually probably be able to traverse. So you'll be able to get lost within the woods of your choosing. But that's up to you. Got the magical tree on where that's going to be. That is the idea for this. So this is devlog 1 to share. Or I'll just say 0, because I'm going to end this and do another one to create a consistent opening.